I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Colby and Chip.
New Metal Week. Metal Week.
He was just talking. We should do
Darwin Week. And the theme of Darwin Week is to go from the first song on the first record to the last song on the last record and see how the band has changed, evolved lyrically, sonically, and aesthetically. So
here we are. We did Slipknot this morning, and now we're doing Slipknot. The Burden is their...
I think Slipknot changed aesthetically. Okay, so this is what they look like in 1999. I mean, they still have the overalls and stuff like that, but let's see what they look like in 2019. Like it's just different. You know what I mean? Like the masks and things like evolved over time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's Corey and that's Sean. Right there.
Yep.
So that's what they look like now. Yeah. So you'll see it. We'll show how they look. Yeah, they got scarier and they got darker, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. And they lost some members along the way, and I don't know if we're gonna count that as part of their evolution or not, but it's definitely part of their whatever you call it. So, all right. Okay, so this is The Burden. This is the last song on the most recent record to date from the Gray Chapter.
Yep.
This is a song. I don't know anything about the song, but I'm assuming it'd have to be something about Paul because it's the last song on the record, and the album's called The Gray Chapter. This is a song they wrote after Paul died.
Yep.
Rest in peace, inshallah. He's with the A and Soph rocking out there, doing his thing up there, inshallah. If you want to check out timely, topical, political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Or behind the scenes with our family, check out My Story Life.
Okay. So, The Burden, Slipknot. I'm actually very interested to hear this song, so let's do it.
Go.
Golly.
That started out really heavy right from the get-go, huh?
Yeah, but there was some melody in there. There was some darkness in there. There was some variation. These guys evolved, in my opinion, a lot better than Korn did. Even though I'm a giant Korn fan, but it seems that they progressed. If you compare Sick, which was pretty one-dimensional, it was just blah, downstroke, I'm mad, da 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 da, and fast tempo. The whole there's not a lot of variation.
Right.
This one had some melodic parts to it. The lyrics were very a lot more complex, a lot more introspective.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A lot more introspective, complex, angry, vulnerable too. Whereas Sick was just straight up alpha dog. Fuck with me, I'm gonna kill you. You know, shit. Like we're gonna put some blood on the ground.
Yep.
This one is more like there's definitely anger, but there's a larger complex of emotions that are happening. Good Lord, what a song! And obviously, I'm gonna read, you know, what losing their friend into this song.
Oh,
you know,
for sure.
You know, for God's sake, we've suffered.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I don't know who God is in this particular song. Because
I didn't understand what the beginning it said. There's God. Can I feed you again?
Right. Will I have to stay dumb? You can feel it begins. But I know inside this heart I can see through your eyes and terrified of everything. So I don't know. Because, you know, back in the day, this is really back in the day, like ancient Near Eastern back in the day.
Yeah.
You used to give food gifts to your gods.
Yeah.
So it'd be an idol, and then you would present the food gifts there, and then the gods would eat them or whatever. So there's God, can I feed you again?
Oh.
And then so you'd give your God the food, and then he'd answer your prayer or whatever, right? So, I don't know if he is personifying Paul as God in the sense of like, you know, having an idol and then bringing it something so that he can have a last conversation with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just saw a show where that happened, right? Where like she was able to throw out this magic thing and she was able to talk to her dad one last time and all that. So it's kind of like maybe he's personifying Paul as God in the sense of like an idol. Because, you know, the idol is basically just a statue and then you bring the food to the idol.
Right.
But it's not really there.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like, I think the first show that they did after Paul died.
Yeah.
There was just like they had his empty suit up there. It's like a scarecrow.
Gosh. Oh. Gosh.
So, you know.
It says you can feel. And it begins.
But then he says, you know, will I have to stay dumb?
Yeah.
You know, like, because you know, not being able to talk. I think when he says dumb, I think he means it that way, like not able to talk. You know, like when somebody dies, you kind of. It's actually in Islamic. Uthman ibn Affan, when Muhammad died, he went mute. He couldn't talk for like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. Like he couldn't speak.
He couldn't or didn't?
Well, I mean, you can't really tell in the literature.
Yeah.
He just went mute. Like, wasn't able to. Whether he could or couldn't.
Wow.
He didn't talk for about 4 or 5 weeks,
Wow.
Because that's one of the things that happens when you lose somebody that important. Especially if you don't expect them to die. Nobody expected Muhammad to die. Certainly not at, you know, I think he died at 63. And they definitely didn't expect Paul to die. So when somebody dies like that out of nowhere, it definitely takes the words out of your mouth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of everything, but it's no real surprise because the parasites are dancing closer. All this sacrilegion warns in posters. Can you handle it?
Ooh.
All this
I
sacrilegion.
didn't know what it was talking about.
Well, sacrilege is when you take something holy and just deface it, destroy it. But then he created a new word, sacrilegion.
Oh.
And it seems to me that, people turn to religion. I remember in the press conference when they were announcing that Paul died, because I remember seeing it come up on CNN or something like that, and I couldn't believe it. So then I went to the Slipknot website, and then somehow there was like some live them and whatever, and I think Joey said something about God and him being up there with God or something like that. So, but I'm pretty sure Corey is an atheist or whatever, but then at the same time it's like it's hard when your friend dies.
Yeah.
You want you kind of want some religion, then you don't, and then the religion kind of it opens up too many questions.
Yeah.
Okay, then what was he doing? Because he didn't have to die. It's not like he
What? I don't remember what happened.
Paul had some sort of condition. I want to be careful here about it. Talk about it. He had some sort of condition, and he was taking meds for it, and I think he basically OD'd on those meds.
Oh.
So, like, he OD'd, he died, and he got found in a hotel room and all that. But, in the dark, why I think I'm alone, I sweat through my visions, I'm going too cold. Today is a tragedy in the mouth of the mad. But that doesn't matter now, I've come relaxed.
Oh, I'm curled up in a ball and shaking. I'm hiding from the hell I'm making.
Yeah, and you end up doing crazy things. I can't believe the chance I'm taking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember being in those situations and thinking to myself, like, what could I have done differently? Or even asking God, like you do things like, like trading your life for the other person and all this. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would trade your life for the other person if you could. But, we're watching that thing where that young guy and his brother had got killed, and he was talking about his brother. He only got shot once, and the bullet went in his back, and these things they travel, and once they get some friction, they get some resistance. They're able to, the initial shot very rarely kills anyone. But what he was talking about was he kept saying he only got hit once because.
There are some people that get hit multiple times. They're still walking around.
Well, all this guy's friend, everybody that he knows, they've all been shot multiple times.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, it was hard for him to process that he lost his brother after one time.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was having a very, very difficult time dealing with the reality of the fact that his brother's gone and only that's all you need. But it's a very, very hard thing to deal with that type of loss, man.
Yeah.
And they were together with 2014, and they've been touring since '99, 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's a brother, and you're touring with the person, like
you're making music with someone.
Yeah, and that. It's just like any other subculture.
Right.
Anytime you're in a subculture where you have to work on something to produce something and then you have to travel around with the person, like, you hate them. There's nobody that you fought with more than that person, but there's nobody that you love more than that person either. And the other thing is, like, there's certain subcultures where, like, you're doing things that almost nobody on the planet is doing and experiencing things that nobody knows what it's like to be in a band like Slipknot.
Right.
Like, everybody knows what it's like to be in a band. If you've ever had a guitar, you've screwed around with your friends and come up with stuff or whatever, but you don't know what it's like to be in an actual band that's touring, and then being a band that gets signed, and then being a band that blows up like Slipknot.
Yeah.
Like, the more and more those things happen, the more and more it becomes there's less and less and less people that can relate to you.
There's a bigger and bigger gap. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
And so, like, it's hard, and there are subcultures like that all over the place in different, whatever.
For sure.
So I've got people that it's like people literally cannot relate to the shit that you've done because less than 1% of 1% of 1% and certain groups are even able to do that shit. So to lose a person like that is extremely
difficult. Oh, yeah.
It's extremely difficult, and a
Yeah.
lot of times you know, especially you think about, you replay things over and over and over again all the time.
What could have been done differently, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you're you lose people and and then everybody around you's like, yeah, we were there, there's nothing that could have been done, I mean, it was just his time, blah blah blah, and everybody says that, but nobody, if you weren't there, you're like, if I was there, I would have cut that, I'd have cut that corner a lot better than the blah 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 blah. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It was his day, and that's it. That's the long and short of it. Everybody goes home, not him. I mean, so, you can't save me.
That's the part what I was just gonna read. There's nothing more to give. I'm changing, almost like I never lived. Be my witness. Just don't leave me in suspense. Keep this, prove it. Tell them all the consequences.
That is. I'll tell you what. The biggest thing that surprised me about losing family members, like, to suddenly, was how much it changed me. Like, there's nothing that's changed me more than, there's one particular loss that happened that, like, changed me. And if I sat down and wrote a book, I guarantee, if I sat down and wrote a book about the last 8 years of my life, it would be a ridiculous, it would be like movie level shit.
Yes, for sure.
But a lot of it is full of, like, people dying.
There's a lot of tragedy.
But people would be like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this one? What about that one? But there's one particular one that and it
affects you the most.
It amazes me how much it changed me. Like I'm just a completely different person. I'll never be the person I was before that happened. Like, I don't even pray for that, because part of me, that scripture where it says Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because her children are no more. I think that was the quote. And it's like, you always think, like, why would you refuse to be comforted? Like, and there's a part of me that just doesn't even want to, I don't want to get over it, and I don't want to be that person I was, because I almost feel like it'd be dishonoring her, or, whatever, impact on my life or whatever. But, and I know there's a whole bunch of rational things that, she would want you to be happy, and she would, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're just not the same. You're never the same, ever. And it's not like that with every death, because I've experienced other deaths too, and they hurt like hell, and it's just, and you're just, like, and then, but it's hard, because there are things that you can do to be like, okay, we made that right, but there are other ones where it's like, but, it's a good title for a song, The Burden, because it is, like, you're carrying.
It's interesting because you were just talking today about, kids not carrying burdens that aren't
meant for adults.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. But I'm an adult now, so. Yeah, but you carry, it feels like that. Ever since that whole situation happened, I feel like I'm carrying it. But hey, and everybody has their own way of dealing with it, so. I'm glad that I didn't find God after that situation, or those situations. I'm glad that I had a long-standing relationship with God prior to that, because
why?
I don't think, from a human perspective, I would be a Christian after that situation happened. I wouldn't be that. I would probably, what I would do would, what I ended up doing was like throw myself into another job where I could, you know,
Yeah.
I had a lot of distractions and could have ended up dead so many times from that other job, and I would have just thrown myself like full bore to that until you know what I mean?
Wow.
But yeah, I wouldn't have turned. That would not have been one of those situations where like I would have turned to God at all. I would have been like, I would have went fume the other way. Like I wouldn't have become a psychopath or something like that. I would have just, I'd have dealt with it by like going 110%.
No, I see what
thing.
I understand what you're saying.
You know.
Yeah.
But, so it that would have been the wrong time for God to meet me. That's for sure.
Well, he knew that.
For God's sake, we've suffered. So that's what I'm saying. Like when he says God's sake, you know, it's like if the God that he was talking about is Paul, then he's saying we've suffered enough. It's kind of like trying to give him and the rest of the band's permission to let him go. Because it's weird, but especially when you lose somebody that you didn't anticipate losing, you kind of have to have that permission to let the person go. And
Yeah. Because he says, for God's sakes, we've suffered. This pain is now our lives.
yeah,
Enough. Like, I think you're right.
yeah,
I think he wants to be freed of the burden.
yeah, and he wants to free his friends, you know. And I do think, like, you know, I do think that it. I don't know what the adjective is. I don't want to say it better, but it does release over time, you know? Like it's not the pain that I felt when I first heard it. I first got the, you know, the news and everything was happening. Like it's not like that, but it's different and it's always going to stay with me, but it's not the same as it was, you know, a week after, 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after. Like but underneath everything, you know, there's that sadness in every situation. You know, I can't tell her about Orion. I can't send her any pictures. I can't, you know, da. You know, so. But you, at some point, you got to give yourself the. There was this movie one time in the early '90s, or was it mid '90s, and I just saw one clip of it, and it was, I think it was. Kristen Dunst was in the movie, and there was one line where she said to her, the movie was like her dad, but her dad was a ghost or something like that. And at the beginning of the movie, she was like, oh wow, blah blah blah. Like it seemed like she was happy that, you know, she could talk to her dad again. And then like she has this meltdown, and there's this one crazy line, like she said, I have to let you be dead, was what she said.
Wow.
And I never understood that. I'm like, what do you mean? You get your dad right there. Well, you can't want him to be dead. What the hell is wrong with you? Like, I never understood that, but now I get it. You know, like, because there are people like if I could talk to them and see them again, I'd talk to them, but it wouldn't be healthy. Like, you have to let them be dead. You know what I mean? Like, it's over, and you got to move on with your life. You know, so they've gone to the Ein Sof, and they've, you know. They're in the next world, and you're in this world, and you gotta let them be dead. You know, but again, it's weird because I've lost some friends, brothers, you know, not blood brothers, but brothers, you know, and it didn't affect me like that one person, but.
It affected you though, but not like that one.
Oh yeah. What do you mean by that?
You never told me, but I think you got a call one time when you were hanging out with me.
Yep. I went off on a trip right after that, right?
No, you said there's nothing that I can do.
Yeah. Yep. So, that's that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, no, all of them affect you, but that one was a really, I guess with the other ones it's like, well, everybody knows what they're getting into when they get into what they get into, and you know, and it's, you always say, hey, it's what I love doing, you know, and it's what I love doing. But the other one, like, it was because she didn't love anything anymore. You know what I mean? So, all right, good song, very accurate, very true to life. I feel bad for him, you know. Feel bad for him, but you know, what do you give it?
I don't know. It's kind of one of those ones I'm not sure if I'm gonna rate it.
Yeah, it's a silent count for me for sure.
Because it's.
But they definitely evolved as a band. Like, as musicians, as guitarists, everything. Like,
the content of their lyrics.
They're just a lot more layers to this song and this band than in Sick. With I could show you how to play that song. It's just
I loved Sick though.
You know, and the way they did the chorus part, it was still heavy. It was like it was like a single note type of thing, but it was like, they're very smart about how to make things heavy. So anyway, shout out to the big homie. If you're thinking about doing something to yourself, don't do it. You got people that love you and care about
For
you.
sure.
Stick around. To all the dudes all over the world doing good things to bad people. As we used to say, shout out to you guys. Stay safe, take care of each other. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
Because the parents are getting closer.